In the winter of 2011, demonstrators in Syria began a series of protests against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Since then, what were civil demonstrations have devolved into a civil war. The long-lasting deadly violence, including a chemical weapons attack on August 21st, has caused U.S. government officials to consider both diplomatic options and military intervention. I asked West High students for their opinions on American policy in Syria. What do you think about the idea of a U.S. strike?
I think it would be a smart idea if we have specific targets.
If we choose other approaches that don't work, then we probably will have to resort to that.
We shouldn't interfere in Syria.
I really don't think that military action against Syria is the correct response.
But I feel that a more isolationist status on this issue is necessary.
I don't want to go to war like in Syria.
Like some West High students, many in the international community were against U.S. military intervention. On September 9th, Russian leaders suggested a different plan for dealing with Syria's chemical weapons stockpile. The idea was to allow Syria to give up its weapons so they could be destroyed by international agents. Students had a lot to say about that plan.
I think that the suggestion that they've made about Syria turning over its chemical weapons and signing under the chemical weapons agreement is what should be done.
It helps in a way that they're not killing their people and by the hundreds and thousands and with using the chemical weapons, but they've been killing their people with bullets.
And that's probably best to keep it under international control, since the region of Syria is unstable at the moment with rebels and national government fighting. Anyone could get their hands on it at any time.
I personally think that that's a good idea, but I really wonder if they actually have an ulterior motive.
That suspicion of ulterior motives is widespread in this conflict, but so is the potential for international cooperation. Students' opinions reflected those complex diplomatic dynamics.
I suppose if our allies in the area, if any action of Syria is a threat to their national interests, we should consider maybe intervening to help defend our allies' interests.
Obama has been saying Assad has to go. What do you think about that?
I think he's right, because this just shows that, he's not being equal and fair about how he treats the citizens, and if he should be able to rule them, he should be able to do it in a right way.
The international community really needs to work together to figure out what our stance is going to be on this and how we're going to work forward, because if we don't start with a plan about what we're going to do, then we might turn over their chemical weapons but start using other things.
The uncertainty surrounding the conflict brings up another issue, the potential decline of U.S. credibility.
It doesn't make the U.S. look as good, because it makes us look a lot more like we're kind of overreaching our boundaries. So I can see why the U.S.'s credibility wouldn't look as strong.
They're doing horrible things with the chemical weapons, and we've already said that that's something that's horrible, and if that happens, we need to stop people who are doing it.
On September 20th, Syria completed the first step on the road to the destruction of its chemical weapons. As the conflict develops and international negotiations continue, we can only be sure of one thing: these students will have a lot of insight to contribute.